To stand out as a Christian simply means to represent God in all that you do. You're welcome to Divine Path. My name is Lilian Ogazi. On this show, we teach Christians how to navigate the world today. How do you stand out as a Christian in the world today? How do you let your life reflect Christ? Well, do not go anywhere, because when we get back, our guest would give us tips on all of this. Do stay. You're welcome back. This is Divine Path coming to you from Trust TV, and my name is Lilian Ogazi. Now, before we went on the break, I told you we had a very special guest with us, and he's going to be talking to us on something very interesting. You know, when he told me the topic, it did spark my interest, because I'm sure you're going to have lots of questions about it. Well, with me here, I have Pastor Wale Ice. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
Now, you know, when we were having our chat yesterday or earlier, you said that you'd love to talk about something, and it sparked my attention. Now, you're going to be telling us how to stand out as a Christian in terms of your lifestyle.
Yeah.
So can you throw more light on it? Because when it comes to Christians and our lifestyle, it's being questioned a lot. They say, oh, you're a Christian and you're living like this and you're doing this and you're doing that. So as a Christian, how do you stand out? How can your lifestyle reflect the fact that you're a Christian?
Well, first of all, I believe one of the main should I say purpose of a Christian on earth is to point at Christ, right? And if I use that as an illustration, if you have a small signboard pointing at a house, right, people will notice it. The bigger the signboard, the more attention comes to it. So as a Christian, your lifestyle, everything you do points at Christ. If your lifestyle is negative, it has a negative reflection on Christ. If it's positive, it has a positive reflection, right? And what actually is burning in my heart when it comes to lifestyle is more than just positive or negative living. It's how big can you be?
Okay.
You know, a lot of times people just live their lives without a mindset of what they are pointing at. They just live, you know, go to school, get married, have children, die, you know. But it's more than just that. If you realize that when people see you, what you are pointing at is what the end result of their sight of you will reflect in their hearts, you would make more effort at being a bigger signboard, right? You would be the best at whatever it is you do. If you are a teacher, be a remarkable teacher. Be a teacher that makes people stop and be like, okay, there's something about that guy. And then when they see what you are pointing at, you've gotten an end result. But if you are just a teacher who nobody ever looks at and nobody ever notices, then you're a small signboard. So that's basically what I want us to talk about in a nutshell.
Okay, so can you throw more light on this now? I like the fact that you said that you don't like to point on the negatives or the positives. But as a Christian, they're always pointing to the negatives and the positives. Okay. So what are those negative lifestyles that you think Christians should avoid to an extent? Okay,
well, let me just add this. I was talking with someone yesterday on site, right, and a Mason. And you know, we're talking about Christianity, and he said something that I like and I want to re-echo here. He said his opinion about life is that everyone knows what is right and what is wrong to a large extent. Sometimes we want to say, and where in the Bible does it say it? Where does it, but you will realize that they will not come and meet you. Where in the Bible does it say you should brush your teeth? That means everyone agrees on that, right? But when it comes to something else that is also destructive, they want to find out where it is in the Bible. Everything that is destructive, that is self-destructive, morally destructive, destroys the economy, is easily something you should avoid. And if you ask me, you can always find a basis for it in the Bible, right? But sometimes, because of our desire, maybe we want to succeed tomorrow, do you get? We are ready to go over the board and do things that in our hearts we do not want done. If someone is doing it to us, we don't want to. But when we are the ones doing it, we have an excuse why I should do this, I should do that, right? So basically, I would say it's easy to know what is right, what is wrong. First of all, is it legal? If it's legal, if it's illegal, okay. The government has already told you it is wrong, right? Then you check morally. Is it morally right? You know, you're already cutting it down. By the time you've cut out what is legal, what is moral, then you bring it up. And then a lot of the remaining things, it is clear the Bible stands on it, you know. So I don't know if you want specific things.
Yeah,
Maybe,
you know, people like to pick on specific things.
Okay.
So people like to pick on, okay, you're a Christian and you're telling lies, or you're a Christian and you're womanizing, or you're a Christian and you're dressed this way. Now, as a Christian, are there certain things you shouldn't do that would portray, like you said, you're a bigger signboard of the body of Christ? So is there any certain things that you shouldn't do that would portray this negativity towards what it is you represent?
Okay. Well, just like you said, the things you said is already obvious. First of all, okay, you steal. It's obvious, right? If you come and everybody knows you are juggling figures in your office, you are the one who things are always short at. Once this is the figure, they come, it has reduced. Some have picked up themselves and walked away by themselves. If you stand and say, you know, God loves you, they can't receive your message. You've already proven that you are not a good spokesman of what you are talking about. You lie, it's obvious. You know, some people try to use, okay, for example, dressing, especially with females. Some people try to say, you know, the Bible doesn't say this, the Bible doesn't say that. But I honestly believe that anything that makes it difficult for you to witness, right, for you to talk to someone, you already know that that's not the best place to be. Because there will be people who perhaps what you said to them might save their lives, but you have alienated them from being able to hear you just by how you decide to dress. Sometimes I wonder, is it worth it? You know, okay, I feel like I want to dress this way. You know, it's my brand or something. And then somebody probably could have heard that advice that you would give him, and he would live a certain kind of lifestyle that will make him live to 108, for example. And then because he can't hear you, he now indulges and is dead. Is it worth it? Is it not worth the sacrifice just to be able to be a visible spokesman representing positivity?
So how can I be a visible spokesman representing positivity, especially in the world where standards and judgments are being set for Christians? How can I stand out?
Okay. Well, first of all, you know, when if someone should ask you, okay, what do you think is right? What do you think is wrong? Sometimes the line can seem smudgy. People are overcrossing it. But you, if you sit down and you imagine, what would you expect from a religious authority, right? Or from a role model? Don't bring it home. When you bring it home to yourself, that's when it's hard to make clear decisions. But when you bring it out of yourself, imagine a religious authority. Okay, we are in Nigeria, for example. Let me think of one of the big names when it comes to Christianity. Okay, let's say Oyedepo, right? That's the general overseer of living faiths. What would you expect him to do in some situations? Would you expect that if he's on the street, would you expect that if something happens there, how do you expect? Do you think that something will get missing and he'll be the one picking it up? Obviously not. Do you think that you'd expect him to be in some immoral situations? It's very easy to have your yardsticks clear when it's somebody outside of you, right? So you want to stand out as a Christian when it comes to right or wrong. You need to realize people are watching you. Somebody said, well, I live for myself and my conscience.
I was about to say that. Now, that's a word that comes out a lot. People say, I live for myself and my conscience. I do whatever pleases me. I have to be who I want to be. Are you saying that as a Christian, you have certain restrictions holding you back from such statements?
Yes, you should. Definitely. Because if you are living your life to be a signboard, that means what you are more concerned about is what you are pointing at, not yourself. So the reason why you live your life is to be a good signboard. That means when I sit and I want to do something, it's not as much about what I like as much as it is about how who is staring at me would feel, right? That means I want it to be that I'm not only doing what is right, I'm doing what looks right. You know, sometimes you know that this thing you are doing, because of your motive, is not particularly wrong, right? But if somebody sees it, they cannot see your motive. Even the Bible says man looks at the outward. Do you get it? So you need to prepare your outward, right? That means it's not so much about, okay, I am not being immoral, okay, but I am married and you are seeing me in funny corners with single ladies. I might not be really doing anything. But that is already affecting your testimony. It's affecting your testimony. I don't drink, right? But my Fridays are always at bars. Then I am just hanging out with people. Then me, I'm the one drinking fearless. but they are drinking other stuff.
So what about the
affecting my
notion that God
testimony.
sees the heart and he sees he sees your heart and not what you do? Now that's one thing people hold on to deviate. They always say, oh no, the way I dress doesn't matter because God sees my heart. What I do doesn't matter because all my sins are forgiven and I'm flawless in Christ. So I can do whatever it is I like and I'll be forgiven now. How do we have people who hold on to this word? Would you say they're being misled because of their kind of lifestyle and then holding on to this word?
Well, it still comes back to where I started from, right? You can say God sees your heart and you are not wrong. God actually sees your heart. But what are you doing? Are you just living your life for God to see your heart, or are you living your life to be an influence here? Now, to be honest, God will judge, right? And it's not only the judgment of hell or heaven that will exist. Even amongst the people who are going to heaven, there will still be rewards amongst them. You know, a lot of people don't like to think that, but it's the truth. Because in heaven, you might be tempted to envy because people who obey God will have a bigger reward than others. So you should think about it. Okay, God is here. God sees my heart. But if every other person is looking at me and thinking negative, and it's only God that is looking at me positive, is it not clear that I'm missing something? I have to be missing out on something, right? Because if everybody is looking at me negative and God is the one that is seeing my heart, let God speak and tell us that what you are saying about yourself. I don't know if you get it.
Yes, I understand.
So basically, men look at the outward. We want to help men. We need to get our outward together so that we have a testimony that will help us to reach men.
Okay, now you're now basically putting everything you've said together. Now it's like you said that our lifestyle should reflect Christ and be able to influence the people around us.
Exactly.
And then you've also spoken briefly about how we shouldn't be people pleasers, right? Yeah, that was it. We shouldn't be people pleasers. Now, let's talk about the regular struggle of Christianity and standing out now. As a Christian, actually when it comes to your workspace and your kind of lifestyle and relationship with people, how do you marry that? Especially when you're trying, it's hard to be honest, fair, straightforward, trustworthy with the kind of people we have around nowadays now. How do you stand out in the midst of people when it comes to your character and the aura you portray to them?
Okay. I think the major factor is what motivates you, right? A lot of people, they are mostly motivated by just having a successful life. Okay, I want to come home with a good paycheck. I want to not have a job. I want to know that everything is working for me. That is enough motivation for them to live their life. But if that is all, it won't be enough. You will find out that it will be easy to bend the rules. It will be easy to, add dots where there are no dots. What is your motivation? If your motivation is to leave a legacy, if your motivation is that men will look at you and be able to say, I am a better person because of this person. If your motivation is that in my own space, I am affecting people, even the people who are not necessarily believing what I am believing yet, their lives are being affected and they are straightening out because of me. If that's your motivation, you will find out that you will unconsciously live a stricter life than you are living. So when I step into the office, am I just trying to do what I'm being paid to do? Or when I step into the office, am I hoping that I have an opportunity to leave this place better than I met it? If someone comes to meet me and I'm talking to the person, am I just talking because, okay, I'm HR, I have to say something to you? Or am I interested in what are you going through and how can I help you? I might not always be able to help you with my funds, but I assure you, there will always be a word you can tell somebody that will either motivate the person to be a better person or give the person peace when the person is in a stormy life. So once you have that perspective of, I'm coming as a pointer to Christ, I'm coming as positive influence, you find out that it begins to affect the lifestyle you live. It will come naturally.
All right,
how you live.
We're going to get back to this conversation now. It really gets more interesting. But before we get back to that, you are listening to Divine Path. If you're just joining us, and with me here, I have Pastor Wale Ice. But we'll be going on a break. And when we get back, the show continues. Do stay. You're welcome back. This is Divine Path coming to you from Trust TV. And once again, my name is Lilian Ogati. If you're just joining us, I'm sorry. Unfortunately, you have missed a lot. All right now, but, well, we still have a lot to catch up on now. Before we went on break, we're talking about how to stand out as a Christian and how your lifestyle should be a reflection of who you are. Be a signboard to people. Let your lifestyle be able to inspire people to become better people. And with me here through that conversation is Pastor Wale Ice. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Now let's get back to our conversation. The world is changing. The world is evolving. I mean, it's becoming, I wouldn't want to use the word more trying for Christians, but I love to say it's becoming a little tougher. Because there's this thing I always say, morality has been swept under the carpet. So holding on to what you believe, holding on to what you see as true, it's becoming a problem. So now, as a Christian and with how the world is evolving, how can you stand out? Especially with the fact that we're seeing different ideologies popping up. How do you stand out? How do you make your life a reflection to inspire people around you?
Okay, amusingly enough, right, presently, I realize that, just like you said, as the world has been evolving, some things that even the, in quotes, sinners used to consider taboo are becoming legalized.
Yes.
It's amazing. You know, it's so funny. And so, because of that, it seems some of them are creeping into the church. All of a sudden, what is moral is now, the lines are smudged.
Very thin.
Very thin. So all of a sudden, almost anything is permitted, right? So at that point in time, standing out as a Christian can seem like a hurdle. But actually it's not, because the energy, or should I call it, what do I call it now? The strength to stand out is not supposed to be majorly just on your discipline.
Okay.
Christianity is about a lifestyle of loving an invisible God. And he has given us promises. And amongst the promises is that he has said by himself, right, that he will make us stand. It's in the Bible, right? So definitely, it means that you have invisible help when it comes to living your lifestyle. You are not alone. Don't think that as I step out in my day, it's only about discipline that will ensure that I live the kind of lifestyle that I believe is worthy of who I am living for. No, it's not just discipline. Discipline has its place. I will never look down on discipline. But there is more help. So when you step out, you are going to your office, you are going to your place of business, realize you have help. You have invisible help. And the help is from somebody who loves you. So don't just step out depending only on your discipline. Yes, give yourself yardsticks. Decide that, okay, this is how far I would go with this. When it comes to business, give yourself limitations. Tell yourself that, okay, as long as it gets to this, I won't do this, I won't do that. But always realize that even when you get to the point where you are breaking, there's somebody there that can hold your hand. Right? When the funds are looking like, Kai, I need this money so bad, I'll do anything. There's somebody there that can hold your hand, stand behind you, speak in your ears and tell you that money is coming. Keep doing what you should do. Always remember that. Always live life with the consciousness that there is somebody with you. God said he will never leave you nor forsake you. You might not always be able to see him. Some people say they've seen God, hello. But you will generally not see him, but it doesn't mean he's not there. He's there to help you. He's there by your side. And it's necessary that we take advantage of that.
Okay, now before we get to the fact that you're a gospel artist, because we're definitely going to get to that now. As a young Christian, is it right to fit in or stand out? Because it's a struggle to either fit in or stand out. How can you draw a thin line? How can you try not to fit in, but rather try to stand out? Okay,
I think that comes...
I think we should start with, should you fit in? That's the should you fit in?
Well, you know, if you are only fitting in, then you are no longer, how do I put it? Okay, let me use this as an example. You have a scenery, right? And you want something to point at the door. If there are a lot of signs, all black signs pointing in different directions, you don't know which is pointing at the door. But if you have one standing up, right, upright, a different color, you always notice that specific one and look at what it's pointing at. If you fit in, if you are just a part of the crowd, you are just one of the faceless masses. So fitting in can be a strong temptation to everybody, but it is not necessarily the path of a Christian who wants to have influence on earth. You should always desire to be above, basically. Even from Genesis, God said, have dominion. What does that mean? That means dominate. That means you should be the one exerting influence. You should not be the one being influenced. Now, if you are just a part of the crowd, you are fitting in, it means you are with everybody, you know, flowing in the direction that an influence is pushing you all. But if everyone is doing this and doing this, if it's something right, you should even help people to do it better, not just be a part of it. You should try to always be a person of influence. Even if everybody is doing something positive, encourage them to do it better, faster, and all that. But if they are doing something wrong, don't say, everybody is doing it. No. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And you can be the one standing up. Always be ready to point at the right direction, even if it means you might lose out on it. Because at the end, how long is life? You live 100 years, you live 120 years. That's like a drop in the ocean. But eternity is forever.
It's forever.
And pointing at the right direction gives you a sure point for your eternity.
Okay, now you had an album on Standing Out, right?
Yeah, well, it's called We Run This Town.
We Run, good now. I like that now. Yeah. And I love how you said domination. Now you had an album on We Run This Town. What was the inspiration behind all of that? Was it how you wanted to show Christians that they can run things, they can, as a Christian, you could come out and, we complain about leadership, but we have the opportunity to run for political offices and let our influence be filtered through the leadership? I mean, so what inspired that? Okay,
well, I think a couple of years back, probably like 8 years or so, there was this thing that was moving through the Christian circles. Everybody was doing a song on takeover. We believe that Christians are taking over, And I wanted to do a song, and I just felt like, I want to do a takeover song, but I want it not to have the words takeover in it. So I said, I'll write a takeover song without the words. And my friends were like, okay, let's see it. And so now I wrote this song, and I called it We Run This Town. Now, it's the major thrust of the song and the entire album was to help Christians realize that a lot of times what's happening in our world, in a sense, can be said to be the Christians' fault. Why? Because we seem to feel like the government should be blamed. Do you get? The rich people should be blamed. We don't realize that when the Bible says all authority has been given to you, who are you? It's the people who believe God. God has given us authority. God has given us influence. That means God is expecting us to use it. If you are not using your influence, you shouldn't blame others, right? Yes, the world, you might not, in a sense, be able to affect the entire world. But what are you doing in your own space, all right? You should be able to do something in your own space. Be an example of patriotism. Be an example of morality. Be an example of excellence. Let people, because of you, want to be the best they can be. You realize that just from your own space, every one of us are exerting this influence on our own space. What happens? Nigeria is already being better automatically. Do you know the amount of people who are in Nigeria? Imagine that all of them are exerting influence in their own space, steering people in the right direction, with the right belief systems, to inculcate the right cultural values. Automatically, we can be sure that Nigeria will not be where it is right now.
All right, so that was what inspired this song.
Yeah.
But now, let's quickly conclude. Now, what's your word out there to Christians who are holding themselves back and not exerting themselves the way they should because they believe that as a Christian, I wouldn't want to get involved in politics, or I wouldn't want to get involved, or I wouldn't want to show myself too much, or I think I'd rather just go with the crowd. Let me just be humbly proud as a Christian. What's your word out there to them?
Yeah, what I'll say is simple, right? A lot of times we are able to hold back because we feel like we don't matter. We feel like if it's not done, it's not my fault. But a lot of times you do not know, right, how much your influence is supposed to be. Sometimes some of us, I bet you, perhaps, let me use an example, Goodluck Jonathan. A lot of years back, I'm sure if you told him he would be the president of Nigeria someday, he probably wouldn't have known. Yeah. So you do not know if you are the answer to the national issue. You don't know if you are the answer to some issues that we are enduring globally. The only way you would know is if you decide to push yourself. What direction are you facing? What are your hands on? Push yourself, exert yourself. Intentionally try to be the best you can be. Allow yourself to grow. Become all you can be, because that is when you realize who you really are in the future. Depend on yourself. Make it that if it was me, right, alone, that determines where Nigeria would be, let it be that Nigeria will be that. I will not fall by the side. I will give it my best. I will keep pushing. I will keep exerting until I be the best me that I can be.
All right. Thank you so much, Pastor Ice, for joining us. It's actually been a very, with everything that's happening in the country today, I think this is what we want. able to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Well, having said that, we've come to the end of this episode of Divine Path. To every one of you who joined us on the show, we say a very big thank you to you. Now, if you have questions or comments of topics you would like us to talk about, or even questions on what we've spoken about today, well, send us messages via social media handles, and we're going to do what's our response to you. And having said that, I've come to the end of the show. You have a lovely day ahead.